The screech of the airport announcement system pierced my skull like a rusty nail, but it was her words that really gutted me. Malachi, if that's who you are now, if you're one of those, then I can't do this anymore. You're not my son. Mom's voice cracked like thunder over the Pacific, her sensible pumps clicking away across the LAX tile as she vanished into the crowd, leaving me stranded with nothing but a one-way ticket stub and a backpack that suddenly felt heavier than my entire goddamn future. I crumpled right there in Terminal 4, knees buckling under the weight of 18 years of pretending, my vision blurring with hot, furious tears. That's when Rufus, my golden retriever who'd been my shadow since Dad's accident 5 years back, shoved his wet nose under my chin, whining low like he knew the world had just cracked open and swallowed me whole. Rufus had been Dad's dog first. A rescue from some back alley LA shelter, all floppy ears and boundless energy that somehow made sense of the chaos after the semi-truck flipped on the 405. Dad used to say Rufus was the only one who could pull him out of the fog. Those long walks along Venice Beach where they chase waves and forget about the chemo bills piling up. When Dad slipped away in that sterile Cedar-Sinai room, Rufus ended up with me, this awkward kid navigating high school in Inglewood, where fitting in meant blending into the concrete cracks. He was my anchor, the one constant in a house that turned cold after the funeral, with Mom working double shifts at the hospital and me burying myself in sketchbooks, drawing faces I'd never dare show the world. Coming out wasn't some grand plan. It just erupted. We'd flown into LAX from a weekend in Seattle, Mom's idea of bonding, after I bombed my community college midterms. She thought a change of scenery would fix me, like my slipping grades were the problem, not the knot in my gut from lying about who I was. On the red-eye home, buzzed on the tiny bottle of Jack from the drink cart, I'd spilled it all. Mom, I'm gay. I've known since freshman year. The boys in chem class, the way I look at them, it's not a phase. Her face had gone pale under the flickering cabin lights, her hand jerking back from mine like I'd burned her. The rest of the flight was silence, thick as smog. Now here we were, or rather, here I was, abandoned in the fluorescent hell of arrivals, Rufus's leash tangled around my wrist like a lifeline. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from her. Figure it out, Malachi. I need time. Time. As if 18 years of raising me solo after Dad's death bought her a free pass to ditch me at baggage claim. I stared at the screen until it blurred, my chest heaving with sobs that drew sideways glances from harried business types in rumpled suits. Rufus nudged me harder, his tail thumping softly against my thigh. Those big brown eyes pleading, get up, kid. We're still in this. I didn't get up. Not yet. Instead, I let the despair sink in, the betrayal twisting like a knife. Mom wasn't just leaving me for being gay. She was erasing the son she'd pieced together after Dad died, the one who'd held her hand at the graveside, who'd learned to microwave Stouffer's lasagna because her shifts ran till midnight. In her eyes, I wasn't different. I was defective. A glitch in the American dream she'd clawed for, immigrant roots from Jamaica turning to ash in the California sun. How could she look at me and see anything but the boy who'd sketched her portrait 100 times, capturing the laugh lines Dad put there? The terminal swirled around me, families reuniting with squeals and hugs, a mariachi band striking up near the international gates, the scent of Cinnabon clashing with jet fuel. I wanted to vanish, to book the next flight to anywhere but here. But Rufus wouldn't let me. He stood tall, ears perked, scanning the crowd like he was the one in charge. That's when I noticed him. The guy weaving through the throng, all lean muscle and quiet intensity, a black duffel slung over one shoulder. He was maybe 22, with skin like polished mahogany, a fade haircut sharp enough to cut glass, and eyes that locked on us like we'd hung a beacon. Hey man, you okay? His voice cut through the din, low and steady, with that South LA drawl that made everything sound like a secret. He crouched down, not too close, respecting the invisible wall of my breakdown. Rufus, traitor that he was, immediately rolled onto his back, paws in the air, begging for belly rubs. The guy chuckled, a sound like warm gravel, and obliged, his long fingers scratching just right. Lucky mutt. Name's Xavier. Saw you from over there by the Starbucks. Looked like the floor was about to eat you alive. I wiped my face with the hem of my hoodie, mumbling something incoherent about a fight with my mom. But Rufus, that damn dog, started licking Xavier's hand like they'd been best friends since puppyhood. It broke the ice, or maybe melted it. Suddenly I was spilling the whole ugly mess, words tumbling out in a rush. The confession on the plane. Her walking away. The text that felt like a guillotine. Xavier listened, really listened, his dark eyes never wavering, nodding like he got it on a cellular level. "Damn," he said finally, settling cross-legged on the tile like we were in some park. Not a madhouse of delayed flights. "That's cold. My pops pulled something similar when I came out. Kicked me out at 16, said I was confusing the family. But look at you, got this furry therapist on payroll. What's his name?" "Rufus." I managed a half-smile, the first crack in the dam. Xavier's grin lit up, revealing a dimple that hit me square in the chest. He wasn't just hot. Though yeah, the way his flannel shirt hugged his shoulders didn't hurt, he was real. No pity, no pat answers. Just presence. Turned out Xavier was grounded too. His flight to Chicago canceled due to some storm churning over the Rockies. A musician, he said, gigging with an indie folk band that blended blues and spoken word. "Trying to make it without selling my soul to the algorithm," he explained, pulling out a battered notebook from his bag. "Wrote this one last week, about leaving pieces of yourself in every city." He read a stanza, his voice dropping low, words weaving through the airport noise like smoke. "In the rear view of a Greyhound, I bury the boy who prayed for straight lines." It hooked me, that raw poetry mirroring my own sketches. Faces half hidden, hearts cracked open on paper. We talked for hours. Rufus sprawled between us like a chaperone. As the terminal emptied and refilled in waves, he shared stories of busking on the Santa Monica Pier, of the aunt in Oakland who'd taken him in after his dad bailed. I confessed my dreams of art school, how mom's hospital bills had chained me to community college, how being gay felt like carrying a secret bomb in Inglewood's Bible Belt fringes. With Xavier, it wasn't a bomb. It was just me, seen, for the first time. By midnight, the airport felt less like a graveyard and more like a confessional. Xavier suggested we grab greasy diner food from the all-night spot upstairs. My treat, for the free therapy session. Rufus tagged along, of course, charming the waitress into extra bacon scraps. Over cooling fries and bad coffee, our knees brushed under the table, and neither of us moved away. It was electric, that spark. Not fireworks, but the steady hum of a live wire. He asked about my sketches, and I pulled out my phone, showing him the digital ones I'd snuck during the Seattle trip. Moody portraits of rain-slicked streets, faces blurred at the edges like unspoken longings. "You're good, Mal," he said, using the nickname without asking, like it fit. Like really good. Ever think about sharing that? With anyone else, I'd have deflected. But his gaze held no judgment. Only this quiet fire that made my pulse stutter. "Scared to. Mom always said art was a hobby, not a life. And after tonight, hell, who knows what life's even for anymore." He reached across, his hand covering mine warm, calloused from guitar strings. "Life's for the stuff that scares you most. Like this." And then he leaned in, slow enough I could pull back. But I didn't. Our lips met soft, tentative, tasting of salt and possibility. Rufus huffed in approval, tail wagging against the booth. It wasn't passion, it was permission. To feel, to be. But betrayal doesn't fade with one kiss. The next morning, as we waited for rebooked flights, mine to nowhere, his to the Windy City, my phone lit up again. Not Mom, but a voicemail from her sister, Aunt Lena in Compton. "Baby, your mama called me crying at 3 a.m. said she made a mistake. She's scared, Malachi. Scared of losing you like she lost your daddy. Come home. We'll talk." My stomach nodded. Part of me wanted to delete it, to board whatever plane Xavier was on and chase that hum into the unknown. But the other part, the kid who'd bandaged Mom's blisters after 12-hour shifts, ached for reconciliation. Xavier saw the war in my eyes. "What are you thinking? That maybe different doesn't mean broken." I clipped Rufus's leash, the dog's steady gaze mirroring Xavier's. "But it means choosing. And damn if that doesn't take courage I didn't know I had." He pulled me into a hug, fierce and fleeting, our hearts syncing like a shared rhythm. "You've got more than you think, Mal. Rufus knows it. I see it." Then, with a grin that promised tomorrows, he slipped me his number scribbled on a napkin. "Call me when you land. We'll write that next stanza together." I watched his plane taxi away, A silver bird slicing the LA haze, Rufus's head heavy on my lap. The airport spat me back into the world, but I wasn't the same kid Mom had left behind. Betrayal had carved me hollow, but in that void, something fierce bloomed, courage, not hidden anymore, but howling like Rufus on a moonlit beach. I texted Aunt Lena, on my way. Mom and I would talk raw and ragged, no easy fixes, but I'd go in with my sketches, my dog, and the memory of a stranger's kiss that felt like home. Months later, after the screaming matches and tear-soaked apologies, Mom admitting her fear was grief in disguise, me forgiving because holding hate was heavier than hope. Xavier and I met up in Oakland. He played a set at a dimly lit cafe, his voice rapping around lyrics we'd co-written over late-night calls. Lines about airports as altars, dogs as divinities. Rufus curled at our feet, the audience fading as our hands found each other under the table. America's no fairy tale. It's billboards and backhands, dreams deferred in traffic jams. But in the quiet spaces, where loyalty licks your wounds and a glance across a terminal sparks a fire, you find your courage. Not in grand gestures, but in showing up, scars and all. Mom's learning that now. Sketches of us three, me, her, even Dad's ghost, hanging on the fridge like promises. And Xavier? He's the verse I didn't know I needed, turning betrayal's echo into a harmony that hums, steady and true.